Hi everyone, in today's video we are going to learn how to create a real-time web application using Socket.io and Node.js. We will be building a simple chat application from scratch, covering everything from installing dependencies to writing some code. So let's dive right into it. First of all, what we need Socket.io. So what is Socket.io? You can find out in Socket.io in documentation what is it. It's a library that enables low latency, bidirectional and event-based communication between a client and a server. And the more important even, you need Node.js. If you don't have it, please install it. To install Node.js, you just have to press and install a long-term support version. If you don't have download in when you just visit node.js.org, go to downloads tab, and here you can find out the downloads possibilities. Okay, so when you just install and download and install Node, we can start building our application. So first of all, you should create some folder. In my case is Socket.io. So the next step is to open the terminal and run the following command: npm init y. And with that we initialize a new Node.js project. So also our application will use Express for handling HTTP requests. It will be very basic, but it will help us. And Socket.io for real-time communication. So we need to npm install Express and Socket.io to download everything. With this dependency installed, we are ready to start writing our code for our chat application. First, let's create a new file called maybe index.js, and inside that file we'll set up basic server with Socket.io by adding the first of all modules. So first module we will need to import is Express, so require Express. Also we need HTTP, and also we will need Socket.io, but it's called Socket.io over here. Okay, so we imported our modules. The next thing, we should initialize a new Express application. How we do that? Simply we can make a constant like app and get an Express. That's all. Then we need to create a new HTTP server using Express app, app, I mean that one. So we need to create some server, and that's why we need HTTP that we imported over here. Okay, and create server and app. The next step is attaching the Socket.io instance to the HTTP server. So we will make some variable Socket.io and we will attach the server. Then we will just create some route that will handle everything. So we will need app.get, request response, rest.send. For right now we'll make some kind of hello world. Every programmer loves hello world, so I hope you do. Okay, the next things will be listening for a connection event, which is fired when a new user connects to the server. And right now we'll need a Socket.io. So IO on, what is the event? As we can see, there is a connection event, and we'll use connection and as a string socket. And inside curly braces we will make console log new user connected. Okay, and the last thing what we need over here is start our server and listening for some ports. So server dot listen at port 3000. The port you can use whatever you would like to. Console.log. Server is listening on port 3000. And for now, it's all. Right now we'll have some kind of basic web page which will only show us hello world, but we'll go and dive deeper. The next thing, we need to create some kind of index.html file. Why do we need it? Because we would like to serve, for example, some kind of form. Right now we'll only serve like an input in divs for a socket.io application. So after we make that index.html file, we can use code snippet if you are using, of course, Visual Studio Code. Mark and tab. And with that, you've got your HTML file almost ready. The only thing we can just change, for example, my socket.io as a title, and to be honest, the next thing we will create over here in our body. So we'll make, for example, ID of a chat. That will be a div. Inside that div, we'll create, for example, another div with ID of, for example, messages. And inside that messages, we'll create the whole messages that the input will provide and will build. So we'll also make, as I said, input. But right now we need to do that in that way. So we'll create input, type text, and whoa. And we can make a placeholder, maybe type your message here. And that will be almost all. But the very important thing is to create the script tag. We will need to first, we'll be using the source from socket that we just installed as a dependency to our application. So we'll go to the socket.io /socket.io.js, and in here we will also create second script tag that will handle the whole application server implementing, that will serving our implementation to that input tag and the HTML file. So first of all, we will create initialization to a connection to the socket.io server. So socket.equals.io. Then we'll just get value from our input. And also, as I mentioned before, we will add that messages to our div tag that's called messages. So right now we create input document that get element by ID and input. The next thing that we need is messages document that get element by ID, of course, and messages. Okay, and the next thing, when we create that our input and messages, we will listen for an event fire on the input. So when we just write something on our input and press enter, we would like to send the message to another user that is connected to that server that we just created. So we'll add event listener. On key down, we'll create event. And first of all, we'll check if event that key equals enter. And also we'll check if the value of that input is not empty. So, and input that value, that trim, that's all. That end will only fire when both of the arguments here will be true. So if something will be false, that if statement will not work. And inside that if statement, we will emit a chat message event to the server with the input value as a data. So socket.emit, and it will be called chat message with input value. And that's almost everything that we have to do in that if statement. Also, we will just clear our input value. That will be sure that everything's work, and when we write down another message, it will be free and we don't have to delete it by ourselves. The next thing, we'll set up the listener for the chat message. So socket on that chat message that will be listening to chat message, and we'll call like message msg. First of all, we'll create a new div where will be added that message. So first we'll make a message, for example element, and we'll make document that create element. So right now we'll creating element that will be a div. Next thing, to have message element that we just created, we'll assign text content, so what we just sent, as the msg, so I mean message. The next thing that we need to do is our messages that we just get from getElement by ID. We'll assign, append a children to it, our message element that we just created. So messages that append child, and we'll create that message element. And the last thing, we don't want to have when the conversation will go on, we would like to be on the newest message right now when we just created. So we will make some kind of scroll, very simple one without any conventions. So messages that scroll top equals messages that scroll height. And to be honest, right there in our index HTML, it's everything that we need. Now go back to our index.js file, and we need to make some kind of adjustment right here. Right now, we just want to serve that HTML file instead our send that hello world. So right there, we'll send file, so our file. And to do that, we need to do name, so our directory where we are, and we'll assign the index.html file to that. And almost we are there, because the thing that we have to do is our IO, so our socket IO server. What we can create and what we should create. First of all, we need to handle the chat message event that we just created in our index.html file. So right there, socket.on chat message, and we'll create that message. That IO emit, so we'll emit that message. What's wrong? Oh, that dot instead of arrow. And inside that emit, we'll emit the chat message, and that message will be msg as it was. And the last thing, I would like to have socket.on. As I mentioned before, we can make some kind of event, not only connection, but also we can disconnect. So when the user disconnect, we would like to have information in our terminal. So on disconnect, and we will call console.log user disconnected. And that's all. Right now we've just got our application, but first of all, we need to call that application. So when we are inside our socket.io folder, we need to call node and index.js, that is the name of our file, and press enter. Server is listening to a port 3000. I've got open 2 web browsers and we are going to them, and right there you can see 2 socket.io chat messages right there. So when we just start typing whatever, we will see that at another tab there is that message. Okay, I'm on tab 2 and hello, I'm the first one. And as you can see, we just create some kind of primitive chat application. Of course, you can use it. Of course, you can add some style, you can add some users, but that's on your way. If you have any questions, leave it in comments. If you would like to build with me bigger application on the socket.io, also leave a comment, and see you in the next episodes. Have a good day. Bye.